Hello and welcome to MindShifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Friday, May 7th, 2021. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or listening through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools I've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free at whyagain.org. You go to that website and click on the red and white bullseye, or the link in the upper left-hand corner of most pages. It says Start Here. It'll take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Rice's book. This book is titled, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of that book provides a narrative description of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Worksheet or Wake-Up Sheet. Either one will do. And it's a tool I've been using to great advantage for the past 16-plus years to help me manage my emotions, improve my relationships, generally improve the quality of my life, and turn any negative emotional state I have into part of the infallible guidance system that we're all gifted. And you can also get that worksheet itself as a PDF file. Just click, print it off, copy it, and use it as often as you'd like. You can also get a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one that you can download and listen to at your convenience, where people have been stepped through that worksheet process and or they've called in with powerful testimonials about how the application of that worksheet process in their life has provided phenomenally positive results. You can also go to your app store and type in the 3 words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness and get access to a completely free and private app that contains the Reality Management Worksheet process, an abbreviated version of that process, and a copy of the Dragon-Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. Get access to that by typing in the 3 words in your search at your app store. The 3 words are Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. Heartland, all one word. Aramaic, Aramaic. And before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. Tap on that and get access to that app. We encourage people to do that soon and often because it quite frequently leads to them to having questions. And that's why we're here in our current format, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, to answer those questions, to help people in the use of the tool, and to further our own understanding of this tool and others that are available at whyagain.org. This year we've made the commitment to go through the Course in Miracles lessons. Today is the 127th day of the year, and today's lesson reads, There is no love but God's. There is no love but creations. There is no love but loves. The commentary is extensive again today, and it reads, Perhaps you think that different kinds of love are possible. Perhaps you think there is one kind of love for this and one for that, a way of loving one, a way of loving another, and still another. The truth is, love is one thing. It has no separate parts and no degrees, no kinds, no levels, no divergencies, and no distinctions. It is like itself, unchanged throughout. Love never alters with a person or a circumstance. It is the heart of God. It is the heart of creation. It is also the heart of creation's offspring. Love's meaning is obscure to anyone who thinks that love can change. He does not see that changing love must be impossible, and thus he thinks he can love at times and hate at others. He also thinks that love can be bestowed on a person and yet remain itself, although it is withheld from others. To believe these things of love is not to understand love. If it could make such distinctions, it would have to judge between the righteous and the sinner, and it would have to perceive the Son of creation in separate parts. Love cannot judge, as it is one itself. It looks on all things as one. Its meaning lies in oneness, and it must elude the mind that thinks of it as partial or in part. There is no love but God's, and all of love is His. There is no love but that of creation, and all is of creation. There is no other principle that rules where love is not. Love is a law without an opposite. Its wholeness is the power holding everything as one, the link between the Father and the Son, which holds them both forever as the same, the link between Creator and created, which holds us all as one. No course whose purpose is to teach you to remember what you really are could fail to emphasize that there can never be a difference in what you really are and what love is. Love's meaning is your own meaning. It's shared by creation, all of creation. For what you are is what creation is. There is no love but creation's, and what He is and what creation is everything there is. There is no limit placed upon creation, and so you are unlimited as well. So, it goes on and it goes on, but it's suggested for 15 minutes twice today that we escape from every law that we now believe in and open our mind and rest. The world that seems to hold you prisoner can be escaped by anyone who does not hold it dear. Withdraw all value you have placed upon the world's meager offerings and senseless gifts, and let them all be replaced with the love of creation. So, Pam Grout's offering for today from the Course in Miracles experiment is titled, "Don't Let the Past Assault Your Now." She quotes Jack Kerouac as saying, "We love forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies." I read that as we love forward. The actual quote is, "We lean forward to the next crazy venture beneath the skies." Come Back, Kumback, a bootleg album released in a plain white jacket in January 1970, demonstrates why I go through the lessons in this course workbook every year. The album is an early version of Let It Be, sourced from a multi-track tape recording of the Beatles at Twickenham Film Studios. This unauthorized bootleg features Paul McCartney singing out of tune, John Lennon botching lyrics, and more than one poorly conceived guitar lick. The point is that the Beatles, the best-selling band in history, were far from perfect. They had to practice. By the time Beatlemania swept the globe, the music-bending group had honed their skills for 3 entire years at tiny clubs in Hamburg. My brain has been running the bootleg album, the inferior album of limitation, most of my life. Letting go of my old story takes practice. That's why I flex my muscles every morning by devoting my day to peace, to joy, to seeing love in everything. That's why today I will repeat Lesson 127. Love is a law without an opposite, over and over again. Daily practice is how I free my mind, how I surrender all limitations in which I have placed my faith. My Let It Be masterpiece awaits as I escape limitation and all ill-conceived guitar licks that hold on to the past. So, our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and we are ready for comments, questions, answers, soliloquies, suggestions. We had our scheduled support group last night that did not happen because I lost internet and phone service in my office, and every attempt I made to try and hold the group failed miserably. It's like a bad guitar lick. We have actually, when I think about it, we've had remarkable success holding these support groups for what will be 17 years at the end of the summer. And rarely do we miss a session because of weather or because of technical difficulties like last night. And yet, it's a possibility, and we do our best. So if you've got a comment or a question for us, or a suggestion for someone we could interview, or a book that you think we should read, or any kind of a comment or question about what we've been talking about for the past 10-plus years on MindShifters Radio, we will entertain that question, that comment. I was seeing some of the similarities between the Tao Made Easy reading I was doing this morning and the lesson. And one of the powerful statements from my reading this morning was, when your heart is at peace, you are worshiping as creation intended. And then the next section talks about how the Tao does not separate, but it enfolds. Any form of divisiveness only reinforces the illusions that keep humanity in pain. Robert Brault is quoted as saying, "Never believe anything that requires you to hate people who do not believe it." The mind that thinks it's separate has to come up with words and labels for the various parts. So the similarity between the lessons of A Course in Miracles and the lessons of the Tao are stunning, especially when I'm going through both of them together. And one of the stories was about Alan Cohen, imagines walking with Lao Tzu in the ancient times as his pupil or student. And the one story he tells is of the day he was walking and he saw a crowd of people. And when he went up to the crowd, he found that they were surrounding a man who laid on the ground with his stomach bleeding. And when he asked what happened, he was told that the man had come through town and asked for work. And somebody gave him work. And then when he paid him for his work, he said, "I'd like to have you make an offering to our deity, our family deity." And the man said, "I don't want to make an offering to your family deity. I don't believe in your family deity." And so the man who'd hired him and paid him got into a fight with him and pulled out a knife and stabbed him and said, "If you won't worship the God that we worship, you don't deserve to live." And there was the man dying, laying on the ground dying. And so this fictitious student raced off to Lao Tzu's house and told him of this horrible occurrence and asked, why do people do this? Why do we kill each other? Why do we fight over labels and religions? And it led to this teaching from the Tao about how the word is not the thing, and the essence of religions is intended to be spreading love and helping. And it's the perversions of religions that lead to the violence and destruction. And if we can see that the word is not the thing, and that what is most important is to live the principles that we think are honest and true and good, rather than talk about them, then we create a very different life experience for ourselves. If we think it's really important to read about these things and be able to talk about them and be able to think that we're right and what we believe is right and what somebody else believes, unless it's just like what we believe, then they're wrong. That's where we start creating the conflicts that lead to the vast majority of pain in our lives. So, we do not have input from last night's group to share. We did have a Tuesday group that was rather powerful, and somebody did a powerful worksheet and had a lot of intense emotions, and we have plenty of time to explore that kind of thing today. If you have an issue up for you, let us know. Susan, welcome.
Hi, Dr. Tim. This lesson is hard, but I love that Pam Grote said, the love of God has no opposite. Somehow that was able to cut through the arguing that I was going to do, because I don't think when I live in a separate body, and I bet a lot of us feel this way, that there won't be some people that we feel a real affinity toward, very active heart love. And I know Michael Rice says we don't love anyone, but I have to argue with him too.
Okay, but so the distinction is just one of semantics at that level, because you do have affection, affinity, cherishing, appreciation, gratitude. For some people, that's very different than what you have for others.
Right.
And in this work, we just want to make the understanding that that's not what the word love is about. That's a description of affection and affinity and cherishing and appreciation based on what some would call crescive bonds, or the bonds that are established between people as they engage in life activities together. And all this teaching is trying to help us understand is that's not what love is. Love is your true nature. Love is all that is. And so as we, explore this, if we want to argue about it, we can argue. But as the Course in Miracles would tell us, you want to be right or happy, because you can't do both.
Yeah, I guess I went right
and
to
there's Keep talking. You guess what?
I went to the particular at the point in the Helen Schuckman lesson, not Pam Grote, where Jesus is saying, I don't have the words in front of me, but basically, if there's one person toward whom you feel this way, and yet another that you don't, you're not loving. So,
well, that's not love. It's not that you're not loving. It's just that that's not love. That we each of us create our own experience.
Yeah.
Of life, of this affection, of all of that stuff. That's each of us is creating that for ourselves. And the distinction in this lesson is that's not what true life is all about. life, this whole creation thing, is all one. Nothing is separate. What you do to one, you do to all. What somebody withholds from one, they're withholding from themselves. It's yesterday's lesson that says, you know, do you remember yesterday's lesson? That, you know, could get so convoluted, but we had to really simplify it. All that I give is given to myself.
Right.
There's no such thing as giving to somebody else, because I'm not separate from anybody else.
Yeah, I understand. I think I keep applying it, trying to apply it in my immediate life and immediate separate relationships. So I lose the universal, overarching being of love. And so, yeah, that's good. Yeah. You know, I've been watching this Netflix series that's very old. It's called Call the Midwife. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It is absolutely exquisite. It's about a convent that also runs a midwife business, sort of out of their house. They call it Nonatus House. Some of the midwives are nuns, and some of them are not nuns, but they're midwives, and they all live together in a big family. And they live in East London in around 1950, late 40s and early 50s. And it is an example of these nuns and midwives practice an absolutely unconditional love toward everyone and a respect toward everyone, no matter if they're rowdy or filthy or dangerous or completely uneducated and flailing around and insulting. And it isn't sappy, that's a hard line to toe, I think. But you might love it, and I know you have enough stuff to listen to and watch, but I would, and Michael reminded me of it. I knew of it years ago and saw a couple of episodes, loved it, but didn't feel I had the time to watch it. Well, now I've been watching an episode or two every day, and there are about 9 or more seasons because it's all been done before, so you don't have to wait a week to see the next installment the way we had to wait for The Crown or something when it first came out. But if you ever wanted to see in a very practical way with a lot of messiness and people getting into arguments in the nunnery and everything, it always finds its way back to the best kind of love you can have on this plane without living in complete bliss altogether, I think. So I thought if you knew that, you'd know what a good example that is, I think. But it's not necessary to keep talking about that. But yeah, I found this lesson challenging, and I bet other people did. So your re-explaining it is very helpful.
So what was the challenging part for you? Because you want to say that your love for one person is different than your love for another person? Is that?
Yeah. And I don't think I'll ever get to the point where it's different, but they're not asking for that. You're taking it to another.
Right, you can just change the word and say that your affection, your appreciation for one person is different than your affection for another. And that's certainly part of the human experience. And as Einstein would say, that's the thing, that special affection for people and things closest to us is a direct result of our perceiving ourselves as separate and different from others. And he says that creates that prison for us, which is, essentially the Michael Rice's codependent relationship, where I think someone else is behavior or lack of behavior or words or statements or whatever, that's responsible for my emotion, creating my emotion, maintaining my emotion, etc. And if I have a negative emotion going, then I need them to change their words or behaviors in order for me to feel better. Well, that's certainly not the truth of this thing that Course in Miracles is calling us to pay attention to as the energy of creation that is whole and everywhere and permeates everything you see. That's not the same stuff. So all that's needed is to find a separate word for that special affection or that appreciation or that gratitude or that obsession or that lust or that passion, because that's not the same as what they're talking about in these lessons when they say the word love.
Somewhere in the lesson it said something like, don't seek love anywhere in the world. So that was a big challenge. But then again, they're talking about
the energy of all creation. If you go out and seeking for something that you are, you're going to be on an endless journey. You are that which you would seek.
Yeah.
And when you can get to the point where the conditioning of your family and your culture and all of the traumas of your life have been healed, dismantled, forgiven, whatever you want to call it, then you will have such bliss in your own existence that you won't be searching anywhere.
Yeah.
You'll have the ability, you'll have the recognition of your ability to simply extend that which you are, the appreciation of that and that bliss, and extend that energy in every interaction.
You know, I bet we do that a lot without even realizing it, and then we start getting into our brains and messing around and getting confused. But I think most of us on this planet are sort of defaulted into that kind of stance or whatever it is. When I go for a walk in the park with the dog in the morning, of course, it may be that that's a special group of people that are out early walking their dogs, but it's like this little party. It's like a little vision of heaven. Nobody stops to do much of anything in the way of interchanges. We're just all crazy about our dogs, and we know each other, and we know each of us loves our beasts, and we ask how we're doing, or we walk by and just smile and greet one another, but it's all on this plane of, it's like Pratervan and his blessing. I feel as if we're just constantly blessing one another. All kinds of people, because the inner city folks have been shut in, and this is one park they can come to, and they drive here often, and there they are, sometimes with their whole families. And it's like time out of time. But I've just been thinking about how probably we do this without having perfected it, or without being able to stay there. We should stop thinking. That's what we should do.
You mean just learn to be in the moment, kind of thing? You're trying to channel Ram Dass? Be here
Probably.
now.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know Ram Dass, but that sounds good. And
that's the
there's
title of one of his
else.
books, Be Here Now.
Oh, yeah. I remember that title. I haven't read that. Another place in the lesson it said something like, leave the past behind, never to be remembered. That's the same thing. That seemed like an answer to a little prayer that's been going in my head. I have so many old letters, journals. You know, what do you do with all those? Anyway. Yeah. So, Dr. Tim, can I change the subject?
Yes.
I listened to that sleep podcast. Really good, and a really good way of interviewing you have. She didn't mention sleep patterns of people who are older. And I don't know whether I'm creating a category in order to justify my trouble with sleeping, or whether it's a whole other category, and she didn't address it. That doesn't mean she wouldn't. But I just wanted to say that what I have read since yesterday, and your very helpful talk, because last night wasn't easy, but I didn't kvetch about it so much. I just got up and read for a while, and then hung out with my thoughts for a while and tried to keep them as up as I could, and finally got back to sleep without any medications. But I did take melatonin, and she doesn't say, but some article I read this morning about older age, when you get older, your ability to produce that hormone, I guess melatonin is a hormone, I didn't know that, is lessened. So you would naturally sleep less well as an older person. But then they say, but you need sleep. So there you go. I just wanted to put that in for today. Very interesting woman.
Yeah, she has a couple cohorts that are, all three of them are fascinated with the idea of helping people with their sleep and the importance of sleep and nutrition, and they might be putting together the Sleep Soul Sisters in the not too distant future.
What's that?
It's just something they'll come up with as a way to leverage the nutritional work of Deepa, who's in India, and Dr. Nishi Bhopal, and the other one I can't remember her name right now, but it'll come to me. And they're tossing around the idea of collaborating and have the three of them put on a program for improving sleep. So, are you up for another caller?
Oh, yes. Sure.
Area code 803, you're in the air. Who do we have?
Hey, this is Chris from South Carolina.
Hello, Chris. How can we support you?
Yes, I was calling about my love life and my money. Mostly my love life.
Well, it sounds like you might have stumbled across us thinking we would give readings, like psychic readings or energetic readings. Is that the case?
Oh, what is this show about?
This show is about the ancient Aramaic art and tool of forgiveness, and tools available to everybody for free to turn any negative emotional state into a good feedback system for you to figure out how to improve your life. But it's specific practical tools. It's not about readings and psychic stuff.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Blessings. Yeah. It's fascinating that still happens after all these years, that people are still associating something about Dr. Michael Rice's work with Earth Angels Radio. That when it first started, the woman who began this was Earth Angels Radio, and she had a lot of people on that did readings and animal communication and all that kind of stuff, and so we would get those calls far more often in the past, but it still happens occasionally, and as we just witnessed.
Wow, that's good to know. I didn't know that was the connection. I wondered how people found this number, what the association was. So there it is. Okay, I never knew that.
Yeah.
You certainly don't push Michael Michael Rice's and your work very hard when you get a call like that. You pretty much tell them to, to hang up and go somewhere else. You're very kind, but
in this situation, it was a gut feeling that was not at all what he was looking for. And there are a number of times where we've had callers like that, where I'll tell them about the web page and tell them about the offering and suggest that they go there. But I just got the strong impression from the energy here that wasn't what the person was looking for. So.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
And far be it from me to advise someone in the affairs of their love life.
Me too. I could say the same. Yes.
So, go ahead. Thoughts, comments, questions, topics?
Well, this is another departure, but my daughter wrote a book years ago called Resurrecting Easter, Meditations for the Great 50 Days. And it was published several years ago. And after Easter, she has several sets of meditations, but I took this one out and I told her I'm going to go through them again. And I found one that is absolutely gorgeous and universal. You read the Chronicles of Narnia, right?
Yes, long time ago.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
This you'll love this if you don't have something pressing that you wanted to read or say today. I would love to read this. It's not very long, but it's not short exactly either. Anyway, what do you think?
Well, I'll trust you. Let's go.
All right.
Let's see what happens.
All right. It's entitled Your True Identity. And then it's a quote from Revelation. He causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead. Well, this thing that I'm about to read is her commentary or takeoff from that, which is maybe a stretch right away, but it's a wonderful story and very much your and Michael Rice's work. It starts out, Peter was getting a divorce. He and his wife agreed to share custody of their two daughters, ages 4 and 6. Peter, a successful banker, would pay child support. A few months after the divorce was final, Peter's ex-wife began to refuse to let the girls stay with him. She began telling her therapist that Peter was sexually abusing his daughters. Peter's ex-wife filed for full custody on grounds that her daughters were being abused. Peter lived in a small town. His ex-wife seemed to be spreading the news everywhere. People began to look at him with suspicion. He lost friends. He felt that he had gone crazy. He had never inappropriately touched his daughters. After a lengthy legal battle, he was eventually exonerated and maintained custody of his girls, but in the eyes of many, suspicion lingered. Peter's wife gave him a false identity. He went from being considered trustworthy and respectable to being seen as an abuser of his own children. How could his life be turned upside down so quickly? Now, I'm going to interrupt this to just say this is a Christian presentation coming from a Christian tradition, but it's universal. I want to warn everyone who might be put off a little from the very Christian talking about baptism now, but let me just keep going. Baptism is about identity that can never be taken away. It is about who you are at your core, a child of God. John of Patmos had a vision in which he saw the baptized marked as Christ's own forever. They truly belong to God. And then my daughter says, I love C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. My favorite scene in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader involves the most difficult character in the book, Eustace Scrubb. Isn't that a perfect name for an absolute brat? And he was a brat, spoiled, self-centered, a know-it-all. Eustace thought the world of himself and worked only to cause others annoyance and even pain for laughs. His cousins drag him into Narnia on a ship called the Dawn Treader, where he does nothing but complain and get in the way. Not once does he offer to help the crew. He drinks and eats more than his fair share of the food. The crew lands on an abandoned island, and as they begin to work to replenish their supplies, Eustace characteristically wanders off to rest. He encounters a cave full of treasure. Greedily, he stuffs his pockets and falls asleep. Well, this is a magic land, and when Eustace wakes up, he has changed into a dragon. He goes back to the ship and spends much time trying to communicate to the crew and to his cousins that he is, in fact, Eustace. Finally, he writes his identity in large letters in the sand. The crew cannot sail away with a heavy dragon. Eustace begins to realize what a nuisance he's been. He begins to see himself through the eyes of others. He is mortified by the pain and annoyance he has created. He begins to help with the work, and now that he's a dragon, he can do the work of 10 men. After weeks of work and struggle, he wanders off alone and finds Aslan, the lion, the Christ figure. My favorite scene in the book takes place when Eustace suddenly has the urge to peel off his skin, to rid himself of his dragonness. He tries to scratch it off, but finds layers and layers of dragon hide underneath. He tries again and again while the lion watches, and then the lion speaks. You cannot do that alone, he says. So Eustace, for the first time in his life, asks for help. The lion uses his claws to tear a hole in the dragon, a wound that goes right to his heart. With force, Aslan pulls off a huge, scaly mess. It hurts. Eustace wonders if he will survive, but he wants so much to be free that he does not ask the lion to stop. Sorry about the noise. Underneath it all, Eustace is naked and vulnerable. He feels raw. Aslan lifts the boy with his soft padded paws and throws him into the water of a pool where the boy smarts and then swims deliciously, realizing that he is a boy again. Needless to say, Eustace is changed from that point on. He becomes the person he really was at his core, all along. He becomes good. His identity is changed, or I should say, it is restored. Who are you really? You are made of layers of self-identification. Who are you? Your desires, your ambition, your worries, your feelings, your relationships. Are you your job, your marriage, your skills, your wealth, your house? Do you secretly call yourself loser or wimp or fat or lost or dead? Think how many times we were asked as children, who are you going to be when you grow up? When do we ever have an adequate answer to that question? At your core, you truly have only one identity. This is where it all connects with the lesson. You are a child of God, baptized into the body of Christ. You are called to serve Christ in a world that is driven by other forces. You are a resident alien living in enemy territory. You belong to the King. Everything that you do, you must do for the King. Anything else will lead you astray. I wonder if I should continue. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And of course, there are tangents. This isn't the exact thing, but it struck me this morning. I hope it fits well enough for you, Dr. Tim.
Well, it fits everything except the baptism thing, because the assumption is that you are only that after you get baptized, and the idea is you are that when the breath of life in you, that the essence of who you are and your awareness is all of that. And it's becoming aware of it. It's not that his identity was restored, it's that his awareness of his identity was restored. Your identity can't ever be taken from you. The essence of who you are is the essence of who and what you are. What's true is always true. This is said in the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery. What's true is always true. And you were created to be this extension of the creative energy in form. And the fact that you exist at all is a miracle of creation. And if you can be in full appreciation of that, then you aren't seeking anything outside yourself because you realize you're connected to all that is. And this whole idea of the stripping off the dragon skins and peeling away, that's what many people experience in the pain and the upset as they do reality management worksheets or as they do MindShifters and they discover these false beliefs that they've been holding and living their life from. And it's, as Michael Rice says, it's not Dr. Feelgood. And yet it is the awakening. It is the returning of the awareness to your true nature. And on the other side of facing those things that you've labeled as too scary or too horrible, and as you face those things, what lies on the other side of it is healing, wholeness, awakening to the awareness that you were never anything but what you were created to be, and that all of your false beliefs about yourself are powerless once you withdraw your attention to them, or your there's a line from the Course in Miracles that says, this will exist until you stop cherishing the thoughts that give rise to it.
Yeah.
Right? It says you may wonder why you have to look at your deepest hatreds. Well, because there's a part of you that cherishes the conclusions that lead to your deepest hatreds. And until you can see them and uncover them, you can't withdraw your attention from them.
Yeah.
And it's the attention that you place on those beliefs and the conviction with which you cherish those beliefs that creates your experience. That's not the truth of who you are, but it's the truth of who you believe you are.
Yeah. I love the sort of opposite of approaches of putting on Christ or putting on the behavior that you want to be but are not there yet. You know the loving thing. You choose kindness and love when you're not necessarily feeling it. And I was picturing the dragon learning what he wants to be, or learning who he is inside, but still in his scales, in his scaly body, and kind of putting on a huge, huge garment to cover that, to be the Christ until he has done his work underneath of peeling off the dragon's skin. That's just ways of looking at it. But
yeah, and it's the essence of our work, every one of us, that we have so many people that are convinced that they are sinners, that they are bad, that they're unworthy. And yet the fact of the matter is, you were as you were always created to be, you will always be that, and there's no truth to the negative beliefs you have about yourself. And you can't create extra worth for yourself. That's like the story of the dragon that you just read. He thinks he can create more worth by stealing all these gems, by adding these external things to him. And you can't. None of us can add to our worth. Nothing of value can be added unto us. Nothing of value can be taken away from us in the ultimate sense. And that's the essence of that work and even the story you just read. And so the only, the thing that I would change in that story for the presentation on this show is that it doesn't come by being baptized. Your value doesn't increase when you're baptized. That's a religious belief that says you've got to do what we say in this group in order to have this connection to your Creator or to Jesus or whatever. And that's not in line with this work. This work says, hey, look, we're all the same, regardless of the religion, regardless of the belief systems we buy into. The only thing those belief systems do is create our experience of ourselves as good or bad, right or wrong, etc. And the judging of ourselves as other than we were created to be is the error.
Mm-hmm. I have to talk more specifically with my daughter about this, but she is a universalist and yet a dean of a cathedral, where she is having to present the Christian faith in a way that is consistent with what her church teaches and teaches her to teach. But I bet, I'm almost positive, I know she would say, no, you don't have to be baptized in order. You're already with God. So, but I don't know how she wrote this meditation several years ago, and I wonder whether she sits on two sides of a table, and she'll sit in one chair to do one job and sit in the other chair to be the universalist priest. But she is really a universalist mystic Episcopalian, and I don't know whether that's a hodgepodge that just can't fit all in one box. But you're right. I would never tell someone that they have to be baptized, that they're already connected. So I agree totally, and I'm glad you emphasized that, because it seems like the truest thing to me. Well, and
it's the thing that separates one religion from another, because they've got these different rules and rules for membership and things you have to believe. It's like the simple thing that I read from the Tao Made Easy, where he quotes, I forget who he quoted, but he said, "Don't believe anything that makes you hate people that don't believe it."
Yeah.
Right. The whole thing is about our universality, our connectedness, our all being the same in one. Everybody is alive. Everybody has consciousness. And there is no truth to the dream of separation, but the fact that we dream it makes it seem very, very real for us.
Sure does. Well, Dr. Tim, I discovered in doing a worksheet on tinnitus, that tinnitus seems to be my mind. I don't know how to put this. My negative thoughts are my tinnitus. Or maybe that's just too scary, because maybe it isn't. But anyway, I don't know what to do about that. And I apologize. I shouldn't have even gone there, because it's the end of the hour and maybe you want to do something else.
You shouldn't have gone there to talk about your tinnitus being your mind?
Yeah, to bring it up at all.
Well, so when you did the worksheet, how did you discover that? What was the...
Well, it's like a goad. It's negative to me. I've defined it as negative. The idea of softening it into it, allowing it, even welcoming it, was my enlightened goal. But it doesn't have to be my demons whispering in my ear, or any kind of limitation. So it was a good worksheet. But I did think, wow, I'm giving all sorts of meanings to this ringing in the ear.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you to look at those and see them clearly and then release them, because they only have those meanings that you give them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, I'm glad that the worksheet process is helping you even in that. It's I've had several conversations already this morning about how the power of what we're holding in our mind is so deeply entrenched into what we're experiencing physically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whether it's back pain or shoulder pain or inflammation throughout the body and joints or difficulty breathing, and several conversations already today where people are living into the truth that's rather than running from one doctor to another, taking these pills, doing all of this chiropractic or deep tissue massage or whatever, what's far more beneficial is looking at the whole package, including my mindset, my beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
Those intense emotions and griefs.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. One of the things I've been saying to myself is that this is in my face. Well, it's on the side of my face. It's in my ears. This I can't get away from. I will never be able to get away from this. I am in a prison of noise. And those are awful thoughts. But those are thoughts.
Okay. Well, I would encourage you to take a look at how many times in your childhood there were things that prompted thoughts just like that. When you downloaded a lot of emotional energy around, I'm never going to be able to get out of this, I'm in a prison, etc. Because the more you unravel those, the more you see them. I mean, it's if you have a negative thought about yourself or somebody else, or a negative emotion, this is the bottom line observation number 10, you can instantly know three things. The first one is it's based in a lie or a falsehood. The second one is this is an old tape playing. This is not going to be the first time you've had that thought. Oh my gosh, I'm a prisoner, I'm never going to get out of this. And the third thing is if you take an action based on that, you're just going to make your current situation worse, not better.
Yeah.
So I thank you for the call, the comments, the questions, and the reading from your daughter's work, and I will mute you so we can move into the weekend. Thank you so much for calling. I'll remind us all that we come from love. We're made of this stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. Welcome, Jeannie Rice.
Thank you, Dr. Tim. Appreciate it.